Joining us now to discuss is the president of the Job Creators Network, Alfredo Ortiz, and the president of Zuma Global and Newsmax contributor, Heather Zumwalt. Welcome to you both. Alfredo, let's start with you. We all know Biden's going to make a big deal about job growth. Do you think that Americans are going to see through his lies? And what about all of the people who quit back in 2021?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me, Jen. They are absolutely going to start seeing, the lies that he keeps spinning, the malarkey, as he likes calling it, that we as Americans keep hearing day after day from him. And this is just getting ridiculous. I mean, even the idea, Jen, for example, that his solution for inflation is to actually pass the Build Back Better Act, or we call it the Build Back Broke Act. That's ridiculous. That's like me saying, hey, I'm gaining weight, so the best way for me to lose weight is to eat more. I mean, it's the most ridiculous thing that we ever have heard. And they actually think that the American public is really going to start buying into this. And they just don't. I mean, we have record inflation, 40-year high. We almost have 10% on the producer price index, which is going to quickly trickle down to the consumer price index, which is the most important thing that's impacting our American consumers every single day. I mean, think about it. Gasoline is almost up 50%, Jen. I mean, 50%. I mean, these are real numbers for real people. But Biden and the administration are completely out of touch.
Heather, Biden will also point out in 2021, we had the fastest economic growth since 1984. But the economy was booming in the final quarter under President Donald Trump. And once Biden took office, the expansion actually slowed. Last quarter was the first year that growth met expectations. What do you see here happening, and how do you get rid of Biden's spin on this?
Well, I think it's difficult to get rid of the spin. I think the way you get rid of inflation is by the Federal Reserve. This would be step one, raising interest rates. You mentioned 1984. That was probably before both of our times. But we do know that inflation is at a 40-year high. So even going back much longer than that, it's the biggest problem facing the U.S. economy right now. And I think the Russia-Ukraine situation will only, unfortunately, make matters worse. Gas prices are at a 7-year high. Around the country, when you go to the pump, you're seeing $3.50 per gallon. I think we'll see double-digit inflation by the end of the year, that we could see 10%. So it's really important, though, as Americans see their wages increasing, which Biden will tout. That's a positive, and that's a strength that his administration helped happen. Well, your real wages are actually a net negative. They're going down when you factor in inflation. If wages are up 5%, for example, and let's say inflation is at 7.5%, which it is, you're not making more money. You're actually making less because those prices of cost of goods and services is going up, skyrocketing.
Yeah, so, Heather, you look at a lot of... Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to add to Heather's point here, we call it, that President Trump gave us his tax cuts, but Biden is giving us wage cuts. And that's the reality. And Heather, we completely agree with you on that.
Yeah. So, Heather, I just wanted to follow up with you really quickly because, Americans now, a lot of polls that we see, inflation is their #1 concern right now. It's not the border. It's not the pandemic. It's inflation. It's a massive concern, even far more than these other items on their list. How does Biden address this in his speech? What do you expect?
Well, they've kind of laughed it off. They, meaning both Biden himself as well as Jen Psaki, White House press secretary, and she's also, I believe she laughed at the supply chain issue, saying that we are all waiting on our treadmills for Christmas. That's not necessarily the case. I mean, people are going to the grocery stores. This is impacting the lower income and the middle income Americans the most. It doesn't really hurt the wealthy. They don't care that the price of meat and poultry went up 10% and they have to pay more at the grocery store. They don't even look at their bill. It's middle Americans that are looking at their bills. So I'm not sure how he'll spin it. My guess is he's going to say we're all making a lot more money, but he won't factor in that price of inflation, meaning real wages are actually at a net negative. And Americans aren't dumb. They know that.
Absolutely, Heather. And you touched on those everyday Americans, the people that pay our taxes and fight our wars. And they are voting on kitchen table issues. And I think they see the pain at the pump. They see that their grocery shelves are empty. Alfredo, the midterms are literally around the corner. 2024 will be here before you know it. What do you think is going to get issues on the top of the ticket? What is going to get people to the polls? And what's going to happen? Are we going to see this big red wave because of Biden's handling of the economy?
Yeah, I really think we are. I think it's going to be a disastrous midterm for the Democrats. And honestly, thank goodness, because I don't think this economy, I don't think our country can take another year of a Democrat-controlled Congress. I just don't see that happening. It would be a disaster for our country. You know, we talk a lot about our American consumers, but we can't forget our American small businesses, which we've been fighting for, you know, for years now. These American small businesses are getting decimated under the Biden administration. We like calling it the war on small businesses because they really are being decimated. And remember that these small businesses are getting it even worse from an inflation, supply chain, labor shortage. They are not in the same position as these large companies that have the ability to use their purchasing power, you know, to be able to, actually receive inventories when the inventories are tight, when supply chain is out of whack. You know, they get favorable pricing, multi-year contract pricing. I mean, these are advantages that these small businesses, Main Street America, do not have and are really, really getting hit on the chin. And so between the small businesses and American consumers, I think in November it's going to be a disaster because America is going to vote in their pocketbook, and their pocketbook is going to be hurting by November.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right about that. Alfredo Ortiz, Heather Zumaraga, get the popcorn out next week. Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.